So can your employer force you to get a COVID vaccine to stay employed? My name is Tom Spiggle. I'm with the Spiggle Law Firm. We represent people who have been fired or afraid that they might be. The short answer to the question is most cases, yes. If your employer is a private sector employer, and by that I mean you don't work for the government, which is most of us, and most of us work in what are called at-will states, which means that an employer can choose to terminate your employment for any reason that's not illegal, then an employer can say, as a requirement for working here, you have to get a COVID-19 vaccine. However, and as with all lawyers, right, you got to read the fine print. There are some instances where an employer may not be able to require you to get a COVID-19 shot. For instance, if you have an underlying disability that somehow would be affected by the vaccine, particularly if you were covered with the Americans with Disabilities Act, then you may be eligible to get what's called a workplace accommodation, which may include not getting a COVID shot. One important thing to remember is the Americans with Disabilities Act covers employers with 15 or more employees. So if you fall under that threshold, if you work for a smaller company, you may not have that protection. The other big one is if you have a religious reason for not getting that vaccine, then you may have protection under Title VII, and in some cases, if you work for the federal government, under the First Amendment, to not get that vaccine if it is a sincere religious objection you have to getting that shot. In both these instances, the law is very fact specific. By that I mean it really depends on the specific instances and what's going on as to whether or not you are protected or whether or not you might be able to forego getting a shot. So as always, I think it's a good idea to do your homework and read up on these laws. Go see a lawyer because it's a very big gray area. But for most of us, your employer is going to be able to require you to get a COVID-19 shot in order to keep your job.